Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Tuesday, April 18th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you. One of those days here with the technical issues in the background, but we're finally here and we're ready for this Tuesday edition of the show. And we're happy to have another guest joining us. Played many years pro hockey, Matt Sierozinski, and also an Ice Guys viewer and listener. He's been tuning into, a bunch of our shows here the last few weeks, few months. Has enjoyed the show, and we're happy to have him on the show. Matt, welcome to the Ice Guys. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me. Yep, viewer. Watch the episodes, try to get on daily. And Ian and I reached out on LinkedIn and respect what you guys do and the information you give. And, definitely should help everybody out in the world of sports betting.
Yeah, there's no question. So glad to have you with us. Just as we always do, with the player on with us, I should say, for the first time. Talk about the hockey journey and the years you played.
Yep. So I graduated from the University of Vermont. Played the first. That was when they switched over from the ECAC to the Hockey East. So we were actually the first when I was a senior, the first year in their Hockey East, and that was a big jump from ECAC to Hockey East. After that, rode around the minors, played in the UHL with the Fort Wayne Comets. ECHL, Cincinnati Cyclones, won a Kelly Cup in 2008. Played there 2 years. Had some really good teammates, really good teams. My centerman, the year we won it, was David DeHarnay, who ended up playing in Montreal, having a good career there. He was about 5'5", 5'6". He was in the ECHL and probably should have been in the NHL. So we definitely benefited from him being in the league. Played there 2 years, came back to Fort Wayne. They formed a new International Hockey League. We won the cup there as well, the IHL Cup there. And then came back to Fort Wayne. Played some mop-up time in Florida Everglades. I live in Fort Myers now. So during the lockout, filled in a few games for Brampton and Florida, and learned very quickly how out of shape I was.
You still got me beating that department, so you're okay.
Yeah,
okay.
me too.
I mean, the beer weight has shown up when you're the host here of the Ice Guys show over the last several months and years. So believe me, you're not doing too bad. I'm sure of it. Yeah. No question. How have you enjoyed the playoffs so far, Matt? Obviously just one night, but how much hockey have you, and how much your betting interests, how did they start?
Yeah, something, I guess my dad is into it and some friends. We play, as you ride the minors and stuff, you're on buses, you're living in apartments, all living on the same floor. Everybody dabbles in it. And nowadays it's becoming more mainstream where I guess it's okay to talk about it and be upfront about it, as, Barstool's making it big, having these coming into different states and stuff, DraftKings. So it's becoming more mainstream, but it's something I think we've all pretty much dabbled in. I just don't think we had the ability to talk about it back in the day, going on these illegal websites and everything else, trying to bet back in the day. But the playoffs, yeah, I mean, I admitted already, I fell asleep. I wish I could have watched the OT games. When I went to bed, I thought Edmonton had it wrapped up. I think they deserved to win. Other than, I think the only negative thing I'd say is that there was a lot of power plays last night. I was surprised how many special teams. I think the Kings had 6 power plays, which played a major role in then coming back. So as an old school player, I kind of like the, playoffs, let them play. So I guess I was surprised at the amount of special teams in the first night, and probably moving forward.
No question. It was an issue, and we'll get into the recap on last night in just a second. But before we do that, first-time guests, we get a first-time highlight clip from your playing days. So we got something queued up, and this has got to be one of the biggest moments and maybe biggest goals you scored, believe it or not, in your pro career. Let's take a look and roll it. This is with the Cincinnati Cyclones, by the way.
And Van Gilder tried to tip it in. Here's Van fielder with another chance. Loose puck, they score! They score! Zarazinski gets to the loose puck at the bottom of the circle, left side. Stops it home and let the celebration begin. 16-12 to go in overtime. The Cyclones are through to the second round of the Kelly Cup Playoffs.
Wow, look at that. Double overtime,
Double
game-winning
overtime.
goal, Kelly Cup playoffs. Do you have great recollections of that? I'll be honest. I didn't know who was more excited, you jumping up in the air or the play-by-play guy.
Yeah, we used the play-by-play hammer. Second overtime, it was funny. The shift before that, I had a wide-open net, and I shot the puck wide. And as soon as I came back to the bench, we were all getting exhausted by second overtime. Puck just found me again. The cool thing about Cincinnati is when I first played there, literally on Wednesday nights, they try to have $1 beer nights, $1 hot dog nights. We'd have like 400 fans. I mean, the arena there is the old IHL barn. I think it holds like 15,000. We had nobody in the stands. And the year we won the Cup in 2008, we were actually in the hockey news because we had like a 23-game win streak. It was like the longest streak at the time in minor league hockey. And the fans kept growing and growing and growing. And, Cincinnati's not really a title team lately. Back then, I mean, that was 2008, 2009. The Bengals were bad. The Reds were bad. And the fans kept growing and growing, where when we finally played the Kelly Cup against the Las Vegas Wranglers, we actually sold out in the finals. So it was neat. And they had a whole parade downtown for us.
They wanted to see a winning product. They
right.
weren't seeing shit back in those days.
We went from like 400 fans to the end of the year having like, almost a sold out barn. So it was really neat to grow the product there. And we had some really good players play in those years. It was, we had an affiliation with Montreal and Nashville, and that kind of helped out too. But we had some great players. I ended up playing in the NHL. So did Vegas. When we played Vegas in the finals, they had some NHL players. Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah, I think Derek England was on that Wrangler team, if I'm not mistaken, and ended up playing, of course, with the home team in the NHL, the Golden Knights, later on. So.
Yeah. Speaking of sports betting, you're staying in I can't even remember the hotel we stayed at. It was
the Orleans?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you see the, Cincinnati Cyclones on the board, and, of course, you're not allowed to bet, but, you walk by it when you're walking to the rink every day. I think some guys dabbled at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you guys favorites, or do you remember?
No, we weren't actually. I think Vegas was the favorites because, it went from a 2-3-2. So it was 3 games out there. We were I think we won the president's
that makes
trophy.
sense. They want to conserve, travel, and conserve expenses. Yeah. So that's a 2-3-2 format. Doesn't surprise me for the minor leagues, but it's always fun when we take our guests down memory lane for that first time.
Well, I mean, in Vegas,
like Ice Guy's baptism, if you will. We play a highlight clip first time they're on the show.
That's cool. Well, I'll admit this too. We the last night in Vegas, we were going up 3-2 in the series, and we weren't allowed to go out. So a couple of us older guys, of course, we're in Vegas. First time we have to go out. So
good luck instituting those rules in Las Vegas.
We ended up going out, and the coaches caught us in the lobby coming back in. So we got fined, and that next game, the 3 guys that got caught, I scored the game-winning goal to clinch it. My roommate got the assist, and the other guy scored another goal. So the 3 guys that got caught in the lobby actually were the tombstones to clinching it for us in Game 6.
There you go. Proof that you can go out and have some fun. I say you can go out and have some fun as long as you get the work done, and that's what counts at the end. So.
That's right.
Put in work, score the goals, help us win, do all the things on the ice you need to help us, and you're fine. Do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, that's basically.
That's what we thought at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. All right, last night, game ones, I guess you could say, night 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm not going to talk too much about the Carolina and Boston victories. They were pretty status quo. I mean, the Hurricanes, just a defensive blanket all over the New York Islanders. It was a very impressive game. Rod Brindamore looking like a genius for starting Antti Raanta, who was very solid in that game. I know the one goal that actually beat him is probably one he probably wants back. Went off his goal stick and deflected in. I think that's probably a save he's got to make. But once again, Carolina just exemplary defensive coverage. I mean, that's the strength of their team with Pesce and Slavin leading the way on the blue line. Look, they scored just enough. I still think offense is going to be harder to come by. It has been harder for them to score goals since Andrei Svechnikov went down with that season-ending injury. That was nice, too, to see him in the arena, get the storm surge going at the beginning for the home fans. So that was a cool little thing that Carolina did there, but a nice victory to start the series for them. I say the draw is still going to be live in that series. It was last night, even though the overtime just fell short. We're going to see a lot of tight checking, one-goal close hockey games throughout that series, and we certainly saw it last night in that 2-1 win. And then Boston, you know what's scary for everybody that's in the Stanley Cup playoffs, especially in the East? That was like the C- game for the Boston Bruins last night. Like, that was not a great hockey game by Boston. The passes weren't clicking. You know, I don't think they got as much time in the offensive zone. And Jim Montgomery said it in interviews to Emily Kaplan multiple times during that game last night. Like, we're just not getting our offensive flow going right now. We're not spending as much time in the O zone. And Florida was doubling up Boston in shots, you know, at one point. But before you start saying, wow, Florida was robbed, yeah, I think they carried the play. They had the puck more often. They had more shots. I don't think they had a great amount of high quality, high danger chances, though, against the Boston Bruins. They kept a lot of things to the outside, but they did control the flow for a good portion. It's just that, but they did not generate a high amount of great chances, you know, off of those shots that they had. You know, Boston only needed a couple to go in. And I feel for Alex Lyon because in the first period, he's spectacular. No question. He's the reason it was only 1-0 for Boston after the first period. Made a couple of just remarkable post-to-post saves, odd man rushes, breakaway stops, just absolutely outstanding. And then you see the second goal from Brad Marchand go in against him, you know, hits his glove and goes in. It's obvious, a 70-mile-per-hour, you know, ethos pitch, if you will, to compare it to baseball. That's what it looked like, that shot from Marchand. That's how much lack of velocity it had behind it. And it just squeaks in off the glove of Lyon. Look, he's got to stop that. Even he'll admit that. And it's unfortunate because he was playing so well up to that point. And then after that goal, he actually played pretty well the rest of the game for the most part. So it's a tough decision now for Paul Maurice now that you've lost game one. You know, do you really go back to Bobrovsky? Do you really penalize Lyon for just one loss and that one bad goal he gave up when really other than that, he was pretty good? You know, you got to generate better, higher quality chances, but that's easier said than done. Boston put just a defensive clinic on display in that third period with the 3-1 lead. Florida got nothing in terms of great chances. They had the goalie pulled, Alex, in the last 2 minutes. What did they get out of that? Zip. Did they have a really, really quality, high danger look that entire time in the last 2 minutes with an extra attacker against that Bruins team? They didn't. So I'll turn it to you, Alex, for these first two games in the East last night. If I'm Florida, missed opportunity, and if I'm every other team right now, I'm looking at Boston last night playing by far not their best game and still winning. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was literally a shitty effort for Boston, of course, with the stomach
no Bergeron
that's going around. No Bergeron. And all of a sudden you got everybody coming out there and they're still rocking and rolling. And it wasn't, like I said, Alex Lyon was fantastic. I think it would be a really bad move to switch him out right now. Stick with him for game two. Let him see what you can do. And, of course, like I said, you know, if you're Florida, you can't give up hope because you did play well. You didn't get completely crushed. And if Bobrovsky had started that game, we're probably talking about a 6-1 Boston win instead of a 3-1. So it's the thing here is that Boston, like I said, they're just only going to get stronger as they get healthier. And if they get Bergeron back, if this, flu bug can get out of the room quickly, like I said, I stand by everything I've said about Boston. And it's funny, the EA Sports simulation came out and it showed Boston winning the Cup, only losing 5 games, which is what I said about 3.5 weeks ago. So, so far, so good for Boston. Just hope they can keep it rolling. And with the Carolina Islanders game, it's really interesting because the Canes are going to have to play Islanders hockey to win this series, essentially. And that's what they did last night. And Antti Raanta stood on his head. I took a shot with the Islanders to try to get the tying goal late. And, I mean, he just, stood tall and on multiple flurries. But, the Islanders have to find a way to bring that kind of pace and intensity offensively for 60 minutes. It's like they only get, these great offensive chances in the last 3 minutes when they're down a goal, the game's tied. It's like, why can't you play like this in the first 10 minutes of the contest at any point in the season? I just don't understand that. So that's a frustrating thing if you're an Isles fan or an Isles bettor. You're wishing that they could put together that kind of offensive pace early in a contest, and if they can't, then you're playing right in the Carolina style. Carolina will possess the puck and slow you down and wear you out, and then chip away. And first power play attempt they get, they score a goal. Find a way to take get some quality chances and tons of shots. So it's going to be an interesting series there, and I'm really glad that I stuck with just keeping it simple, playing the home team to win every game. That's still alive after game one, and hoping we can just keep that train rolling as well.
I played that correct series win order bet two ways, though, in that series. I bet the way you did, but I also have one where it's Carolina, Carolina, Islanders, Islanders, Carolina, Islanders, but then the Islanders winning in game 7.
That makes sense, too. Yeah.
In Carolina. So I sprinkled a little on that one, too. But I do expect home ice is going to be the dominant theme, and that's actually wouldn't shock me if Carolina goes up 2-0 after a game 2. And then we get back to a UBS Arena, and we could go back to Carolina tied again.
That's absolutely genius, because now you have a free roll in game 7. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And you're going to get a big plus price ticket cashed either way if it gets to game 7, and it follows. And, of course, it follows that pattern with the home team winning. Matt, now you mentioned you fell asleep later in the night, so I assume you were up for the entirety of these early 2 games here in the East. What did you think of Carolina and Boston's victories?
Yeah, I mean, Boston without Bergeron, at first I think because there's a flu bug going around, I think they thought he was sick, but I guess he was around the whole team yesterday, so I don't think he's sick. I think he's got more going on there. Florida outshot them early, but Boston's chances were better. I mean, Lyon stopped a couple 2-on-1s that should have been goals. I think you go back to him. It's not his fault they lost. But, yeah, Boston's not best effort. Florida, to me, they just need to go to the net. They got rebounds and stuff. I mean, they can't be perimeter hockey team. I know Boston's early 2 PPs that helped. I mean, the early Pasta scores right away. I mean, that hurts. And then later in the period, Florida gets a power play, and Boston's number 1 PK in the league, so they just gave up nothing there. I think the series is going to be close. I liked Florida's chances in game 1. I actually played them first period money line, which lost. I thought they would maybe jump on them first, but they're in trouble. Boston's going to be better next game, and with or without Bergeron. They're the best team in the league for a reason. Carolina played Carolina hockey. Islanders, you kind of – they're the worst team, and Carolina's obviously better. Sorokin is their only chance, and how much better can he play in game 2 or 3? I mean, you got to rely on the guy. He played great, but I don't know where you go from there if you're the Islanders. How much better can he play? Because Carolina's a tremendous team, and like you said, Raanta was the right call. It was a great call. So that's it. Carolina and Boston, like you said, they did what they had to do. And,
I agree with the call. Raanta was certainly Raanta played great in the playoffs in the first round in particular last year, and then I think he got all those games in a row for someone that's not used to starting that many, who kind of got worn down, but it was the right call, and he had a nice game 1. And then in the West, wow. The West is where it was at last night, because those 2 games were wild, to say the least, no pun intended. And we'll start there with the Wild against the Dallas Stars. Give the Wild credit. Undermanned, no Joel Eriksson-Ek in that game. John Klingberg, the former Dallas Stars defenseman, and Anaheim before he got dealt to Minnesota, also a late absence for the Minnesota Wild. And they find a way. And to me, you can only go so far with Dallas, deserved the win and didn't get the win rhetoric, because I thought in the first period they weren't good. I thought Minnesota was better in the first period than the Dallas Stars. And then after that, it was basically Dallas definitely controlled the second period, the third, and certainly overtime. There's no question. That being said, at the very beginning of the first overtime, that's when Minnesota had 2 of their best chances, and Jake Ottinger made a couple of incredible saves. The goaltending on both sides was phenomenal last night. Philip Gustafsson and Jake Ottinger, a great display in net. And for Minnesota, undermanned to pull that one out. And look, it's a classic overtime type of goal, in that it was a bounce off a skate in the corner, pops all the way out to the front of the net. The defense is completely out of position. Nobody sees that coming if you're Dallas, and there's Ryan Hartman all alone. Puts it in past Ottinger for the game winner. The controversial moment in the game, the Joe Pavelski hit that he took at the hands of Matt Dumba. Look, I mean, it's gut-wrenching to me as someone that took Pavelski top goal scorer and point scorer in the series, and now there's a real chance he's not playing again for the rest of this series. Concussion symptoms. In fact, I'm planning on him not playing game 2, and I'm planning on him not playing the rest of this series, and it hurts because I thought that was a great prop bet. and now it's gone to shit because of that damn hit from Matt Dumba. And the only thing I'm angry about is that Pavelski was on the receiving end of it. I'm not in the camp of that was dirty. That was that was a little bit late, just a tad late, but it wasn't. I've seen a lot worse than that, and I can't even gripe too much about the 5-minute major penalty on Dumba being rescinded. I think that was a call that I actually agree with it. I think that's the right way to go. And even if you see Peter DeBoer on the bench getting the explanation from the referees after they took the 5-minute major down and made it a 2, he wasn't losing his mind. He wasn't losing his shit. He realized that's probably the right call. I'm disappointed, but it's probably the right call. He wasn't, overly upset about it. What I am upset about is the misconduct that was given to Domi. Like, the guy is just trying to defend his team, like one of the leaders of the team and one of your most important players, especially when you factor in the way he plays at playoff time. And he was just trying to step in there. I thought giving him a 10-minute misconduct was a little bit much, a sign that we're trying to do away with good old-fashioned hatred and bad blood in the playoffs, which I also don't like. But nevertheless, the game kept going from that point. I don't want to also say that Dallas lost the game because of the, Matt Dumba incident, or because they had a million chances. They hit the post, by the way, on that power play. Rope Hintz did right before Hartman scored the game winner. It was back and forth game. Minnesota got the overtime goal. And by the way, it wasn't as lopsided as you'd think. There's people that say Dallas dominated the game. I think in the overtime, they certainly controlled the game at the better play, but it was even, early Minnesota was better. Dallas came on stronger as the game went on. Bottom line is, this is a close series. These are two very good hockey teams. It's going to go probably 7, in my opinion. So a 3-2 overtime win for Minnesota. And now we see the status of Pavelski. If he's out, it means you need more from Hintz and Robertson. And, and Wyatt Johnston had an incredible chance. He just shanked it on a wide open net. He had too, in one of the chances. And then, of course, Brock Faber with maybe the save of the game outside of the saves Gustafsson made, sprawling, getting a stick on what was a yawning, gaping cage for Mason Marchment during overtime. And I figured at that moment, doesn't this feel like Minnesota's game to win now after he made a play like that? And sure enough, they did. And then in the other game, LA-Edmonton, Oilers, I was getting worried for Edmonton after the second period because they had this incredible red-hot start. They were on fire to begin that game, and it could have been 4-5-0 in the first period without Korpisalo. The work of Korpisalo to keep that game within reach for LA was exemplary and shouldn't be lost on anybody. But they got up to that 2-0 start. McDavid's going wild. Leon's doing a tap dance on the Kings. It's looking like it's going to be an easy night for Edmonton. But then there was this lull, and they never got to 3-0. And in the second period, LA was starting to carry the flow a little bit more. And then the second period ended 2-0. And I'm like, this is still very much a hockey game. And sure enough, wouldn't you fucking know it? LA scores early in the third. It's 2-1. And it's game on, at that point. LA right back into it. And you thought even then after that, Draisaitl makes it 3-1. And I'm like, that's a good big goal, but still a lot of time left, 3-1. And sure enough, just minutes later, Adrian Kempe gets his second goal after getting the first goal, makes it 3-2. What a player continues to be for the LA Kings. And then they tie it. An ill-timed penalty late in the third period allows the Kings to have a 6-on-4, and they tie the game 3-3. Kopitar finds it in a mad scramble, buries it into a wide open net. And then, of course, in overtime, a bad penalty taken by Desharnais. And look, I know he was upset. He was angry, but it was a penalty. It was a bad penalty to take. I know he should be upset. He should be yelling at himself, not the referee. And LA with a beautiful passing play to finish it off. Iafallo in overtime, and a real tough loss for Edmonton. But if I'm Edmonton, I don't panic. Could have won that game, had the lead majority of the game. We lost game 1 at home to the Kings last year, and we still won the series. So no reason to panic, but still, real tough loss for Edmonton. Alex, thoughts on the Western games last night?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Wild and Stars because I watched the majority of that game. I kind of missed the early part of Edmonton, LA, just trying to flip back and forth. But Minnesota and Dallas, this is just it's the epitome of playoff hockey, right? Two teams that don't like each other. They have the history. He said all the animosity, and of course now things being built up with, not just
physical
Matt
game
Dumba.
of the night. It was too.
Absolutely. Matt Dumba, of course, the hit on Joe Pavelski. He's public enemy number 1 in the state of Texas. Just like Studer is not liked here in Minnesota for many different reasons, but you can add the fact that he was pretty much trying to chop Kaprizov in half all night. So you got the dirtiness and chippiness, but the reason why you cannot get rid of fighting in this game is after that Dumba hit. Like you said, it's insane that Max Domi gets a 10-minute misconduct for sticking up for his guy. Dumba just goes and turtles when he should have just stood up and fought Domi. It would have probably settled everything down. But even after that, fine. Okay, you assess those penalties, correct? As soon as Dumba gets out of the box, he should be fighting somebody. Somebody should have been there to challenge him. And that momentum swing may have gone either way. Instead, all the momentum from the penalty kill went straight to Minnesota. They score the goal to tie it up, and that thing stays tied and goes all the way until double overtime. Fighting is a part of hockey, and it's not just about policing themselves nights. It's also about building and taking away momentum. And when you talk about the playoffs, momentum swings are humongous. And that was the really big momentum swing for Minnesota. Like I said, it didn't cost Dallas the game. Dallas had a million chances in the third and in both overtimes, as did Minnesota. But, controlling those momentum swings, and there were a bunch of missed calls on both ends. The refs really kind of got in the way late, and that's what created some of those chances. So I'd like to see less ref involvement in game 2 and beyond, and just let the players play. And this is going to be a really fun series. And is it Minnesota has a puncher's chance? As much as I like Dallas, I still like Dallas to win the series. Minnesota's got the fight, they got the energy, and the fact that they're at least able to steal one on the road is massive for them. So excited to see what happens with game 2 and beyond. And that one, like I said, with Edmonton and LA, I missed the earlier part, but I saw, the goals where Edmonton was up early, and I'm thinking, okay, well, LA had struggled against Edmonton those last 2 times they played in the regular season. Maybe something's changed now where this may not be as tight of a series, but then you see the collapse, and then, LA comes back, wins it in OT. Like I said, no reason to hit the panic button yet for Edmonton, but you have to win game 2 if you're the Oilers. You cannot afford to go down 0-2 and head out to LA. So that's going to be a massive game for them coming up.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And if they're down 2-0, they're in some trouble. But I will also say this. I'll counter it with this. Edmonton's road record this year has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And if there's one team that can actually win 2 on the road in LA, and they've won in LA multiple times this year alone, it's Edmonton. So even at 2-0 down, I don't think they'd be out of it because they can go on the road and tie this thing up. They actually been better on the road this year, Edmonton, than at home, believe it or not. So, but yeah, it would still behoove them for sure to tie this series up in game 2. We'll see if they are able to do that. And by the way, I just want to point this out because it's an interesting factoid, especially me with my interest in the broadcasting side of things. Bob Wischusen, Brian Boucher, and Leah Hextall, the 3-person crew that did the Wild Stars game, they're doing Kraken Avalanche tonight for ESPN in Colorado. So you think they're going to be a little hungover, a little bit tired after last night? I would think so. And then having to get into Colorado late last night and call a game tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. So we'll see if how much energy they've got in their system after that double overtime affair, and now calling a game tonight as well. Matt, what did you think of the 2 West games? I know you fell asleep late, but thoughts from them?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with the I think Minnesota controlled almost half the game. I mean, when Dallas went up 2-1 early in the second, I think they were being outshot almost 2-1 at that time. So the resiliency of Minnesota, I mean, Gustafsson was outstanding as the game went on. Dallas found their legs. Alex, I have to agree with you. Dumba, you fight there, it ends everything, kind of calms things down. Yep. Pavelski, I mean, I actually went to Sharks camp with Pavelski, and the guy is super smart in his awareness. I was actually surprised that he didn't see the hit coming from him, but his head did hit the ice, and it's scary.
That's what made it worse. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. He's going to be out for a few days with the new protocols with the concussions and stuff, but is that a big loss? I mean, it is a big loss, but it's a bad bounce with Dallas. You just got to move on. I mean, the puck popped out, Hartman scores, and that's it. You forget about it. I'm sure the coach came in and said, it's over and done with. Let's move on. Edmonton, I mean, they, dominated the first. I think Alex or Ian and I both liked the first period. -0.5 for Edmonton last night.
Yeah, we did. We cashed that. Good thing that's what we had primarily, not the full game. Yeah,
nice plus money there. They scored in the 5-on-3, and then after that, I don't know. The Kings are just, I kind of liked when Drew Doughty kind of. What do you say in the media? He's going to slap McDavid or something, or he was talking some trash. So they're into it. They're not as scared of Edmonton. I mean, I have Edmonton in the series. I like Edmonton. I think the West is a little weaker. I thought Edmonton would actually go pretty far. But like you said, there's no panic to them. They were there last year. You know, I don't know. I don't know what you could do differently if you're the Kings. I mean, you kind of took it to the chin early on. You took their best punch and you came back and you fought back and took advantage of some PPs. You know, it's going to be a tight series, a lot tighter than I thought, I think.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not only people will say, "Wow, everyone talks about the Edmonton power play. Look at what the LA power play did in overtime." Well, the LA power play really didn't do anything until the tying goal and the game-winning goal, and they had like 7 or 8 power plays last. The Edmonton penalty kill was really good last night until, you know, the tying goal late in the third, and then the overtime power play, and then that's when the damage was done, unfortunately for them. So, but again, LA's a very resilient bunch, mentally tough. They're a damn good hockey team. It kind of pained me actually to pick Edmonton in that series. As much, and I love Edmonton. I still think they'll win the series, but I really liked what I had seen all season from LA, and they're still very live in that series. LA, no doubt, and they showed it last night. All right, let's get to tonight. We've got 4 game ones. Betcast Tuesday. Make sure you're aware of that. We'll be on the live Betcast tonight. Our first for the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. There it is on the screen, Tuesday, April 18th, live betting and commentary with me, Alex, and, of course, all of our viewers and listeners that decide they want to join us. We'll send you the link for the Betcast, and we will make sure you can join us on the stream tonight. DM me at Bobano on Twitter or email bobano350@gmail.com. Bring your booze, drinking encouraged. It's a bar and a pub atmosphere with every Betcast. Looking forward to it tonight, so make sure you join us for our first Stanley Cup playoffs live Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And what a great quartet of games we have tonight on this second night of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And we will begin with the New Jersey Devils hosting the New York Rangers. Devils back into the playoffs, -130 favorites here in game 1, 5.5 being the total. I'm on the Rangers in the series, as you all know. At a small plus price. I just think for the Devils, as great a season as they've had and as lethal and as offensively as they can be and as fast as they are, and they have a fast team. All 4 forward lines are great and lethal in transition. They can all skate. The defense is very mobile, 1 through 6 with Siegenthaler, Hamilton, Graves, Marino, Damon Severson and company. Excellent in terms of their skating ability, and it's going to put some pressure on the Rangers' blue line. But the Rangers have the experience of getting to an Eastern Conference final last year. What is it? Barely, 10 players on the Devils that have seen playoff hockey. I mean, it's just a huge difference in experience. Meanwhile, you've got Cup winners littering this Rangers team, including the 2 guys they brought in at the deadline, and Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko, bringing them in for this time of year. They've got the better goaltender. I don't care who it is, Vanacek or Akira Schmid or Blackwood, any of them. They're not Igor Shesterkin. The Rangers have the edge there in this series. I think the blue line, too, a little bit more physicality, a little bit more playoff, rugged, defensive-minded style of play is what you can get from the Ranger blue line, especially when you talk about Trouba and Lindgren. Schneider's pretty good in his own end. Mikola's been really solid since they got him in that Tarasenko trade from St. Louis. And then they've got the mix of the guys that can skate and move the puck like Keandre Miller and Adam Fox. So I think it's a very well-rounded blue line for the Rangers. We know they've got scoring in bunches potentially. I mean, if everyone's clicking offensively, this is a scary team up front. Kreider, Zibanejad, Patrick Kane, Panarin, Trocheck, Tarasenko, that's your top 6. Pretty impressive. We haven't even gotten to the kid line yet, which, by the way, was their best line in the Stanley Cup playoffs for much of last year. Alexis Lafreniere, Capo Caco, who heated up down the stretch this year. And, of course, and the guy I'm going to really target for props tonight and in this series, Philip Hedl, who was Mr. Playoffs last year for the New York Rangers. I was very impressed with him. I'm not going to wait around. I'm going to look at Philip Hedl, anytime goal scorer, and to get a point here tonight in this first game, knowing what he was able to do in the playoffs last year. And that was contribute and make a big-time impact for the Rangers offensively. So as far as this game goes, I'm going to look more toward probably some live opportunities, but I'm going to have a small split on the 5.5 over and the Rangers team total over in this game, which is only 2.5, at around -135, -140. So a couple small bets pregame on the Ranger team total over and the full game over 5.5. But other than that, going to save a lot for the bet cast. I'm already on Rangers in the series, so I'm not taking Rangers money line here in game one. And again, as far as props go, I'm interested. And Zibanejad, you probably have to look at him to find the back of the net, not only because the price is north of plus 200, but he was the leading goal scorer last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs for the New York Rangers. He actually tied with Kreider in most goals in their playoff run to the Eastern Conference Finals. He led them in points with 24. So, and it's his birthday, says TL in our chat. So it's funny, in basketball this happens too. The birthday boy usually makes an impact and has a good game. So Mika Zibanejad, anytime goal scorer, definitely will be on my card here as well for this Rangers-Devils game. What do you think here, Alex? Game one, Hudson River rivalry back on again.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. I think this game is going to be we might see some of the same physicality that we saw with that Dallas Minnesota game last night, and it's just natural because these two teams do not like each other, and it doesn't matter if it's Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko just joining the team. They'll understand and pick up quickly, especially considering those two were actually rivals against one another years ago. They know the importance of having that initial step of getting out in front on the road against a rival in a series and trying to establish the dominance. And, we talked about it, in the preview about how the Devils are where we thought the Rangers would be this year. No one was expecting the Devils to be one of the best teams in the league and come out and get home ice and be in the playoffs. Everybody was thinking the Rangers are, Stanley Cup contenders, that arguably the runaway team to win out of the East. And so to see that flip around and know that these two teams are going to be in each other's way, I'm expecting tons of fireworks, and I'm expecting a higher scoring series between these two teams. Obviously with the Rangers having the X factor in goal, which is Sturkin, but Vanecek's been a quality goaltender as well. You would look at these two teams and probably expect a bit of a lower scoring battle, being that it's the playoffs. But I think early in this game and in this series, we're going to see goals. I love the first period over. It's only $1.10 at FanDuel. So I jumped on that. That's a big play of mine, actually. And everything else, I'll just be waiting for the bet cast. I'm staying away from a side here. Would probably sprinkle a little something on the draw. But I think this is going to be a higher scoring one. So I'd also look at that over 5.5 as well.
You know what? I'm going to probably put a little on the first. I'm more interested in doing first period overs in the playoffs than I was during the regular season. And if you look last night, Edmonton, LA was a first period over that got there pretty comfortably last night. And by the way, if you're keeping track, every game except Minnesota, Dallas last night, goal in the first 10 minutes cashed. Mm-hmm. There was a goal in the first 10 minutes in every other game. Islanders, Hurricanes, Panthers, Bruins, Oilers, Kings. They all had a goal in the first 10 minutes. So that's definitely something I would actually throw something on here as well in this one. Goal in the first 10 minutes here with this Rangers and the Devils game. And I like that over 1.5 minus 110. You just don't see that. I'm actually a little surprised they put a 5.5. I get it with Shesterkin. I get it with the Rangers' defensive capabilities. And that New Jersey can hunker down defensively when they want to as well. But with all the firepower up front that both teams have, and you're putting a 5.5 out there, and the series history this year, by the way, Rangers, Devils, 3 of the 4 games went over between these two teams during the regular season. So to me, I'm more than a little bit surprised it's 5.5 and not 6 or 6.5.
And with that first period, the last 13 meetings, 10-3 to the over, when it's set at 1.5. So.
Yeah, so there you go. We definitely think they're underselling these totals, the first period total and the full game total, Alex and I, in this game. What do you think here, Matt? Rangers, Devils?
I'm with you. I'm on the Rangers for the series. I love teams that, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year and lost. I think teams learn a lot from that. So I love backing teams that lose first, because I think you got to lose first sometimes before you win. Rangers to me have the better goaltending, no matter who's in net with the Devils. I love the fact. I grew up in Buffalo. Patrick Kane. I think he's going to find the energy to be impactful. With that, the Rangers. I think their road record during their regular season was better than their home record. So I like them tonight to get off on the right track. The Devils, I love the Devils, how they play, the speed of the game. It's like that new, 2023, the way you play, just really fast from line 1 to line 4. Their defense is quick. I love Lindy Ruff. Obviously, he was the Buffalo Sabres coach for a while, so I like what he does. To me, with that price of the first period over, I'm probably going to have to follow you guys on that one as well. I do like the Rangers to start off here. I think they'll be ready to go, and the experience, I think, it's just a little too much. I know it sounds old school with all the new advanced stats and stuff, but I think their experience is going to play a role. I think the last year the Foxes and the Sturgeons, they all learned to play and how to play in the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt. If I were to pick two guys to score tonight, my favorite goal scorer props, I like Hedl a little bit. I could make a case for Kakko, like our guy Cuban in the chat is here as well, because Kakko really stepped up down the stretch. He had goals in 4 of the last 8 games for the New York Rangers. Actually, 4 of the last 7 games. So he started to play a little bit better for them. But I like Zibanejad for the Rangers, Jack Hughes for the Devils. I'm not overthinking it. In the playoffs, and I think those are your two guys I think have a real good chance to find the back of the net here tonight for their respective teams. But no doubt this should be a great, exciting series, entertaining series, and I think you're going to see it definitely play out that way. As far as shots on goal, I want to point out Panarin's been shooting the puck more. Would look toward him over 2.5. Dougie Hamilton for the Devils, potentially over shots on goal. Jack Hughes is all, and I think for Jack Hughes too, his first playoff game, I think he's really going to be wired, and that's going to result in him firing that puck a lot. Jack Hughes tonight reminds me a little bit of, it wasn't his first playoff game, obviously, because he played last year for Dallas, but Jason Robertson was just shooting the puck all over the place last night for Dallas. I think you'll probably get something close to that from Jack Hughes tonight. So definitely over the shots prop. Hischier does not get the credit he deserves for. We know he can chip in offensively, but he's a great defensive center. He really is, and he does not get credit for it at all compared to some other players in the league. He will make things tough, on Zibanejad in particular in that top line. But Zibanejad, he faced tough checking last year. Boston. Or I should say, it was Carolina in the second round. They faced some tough checking in that series, and they prevailed in it. And he was a big factor offensively, and again led them in points, tied for the team lead in goals in the playoffs last year. I think he can fight through it, still find the way. So I'm going to find the back of the net. So I'm going to look at a spread in the wealth. Like I said, a little Rangers team total over, a little first period over, and a little full game over. A little bit on all three for me here. In this Rangers-Devils game. All right, Tampa Bay Lightning, Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got Toronto minus 155. Home favorites here in game 1, 6 the total. By the way, make note for you, everybody watching on television in the States, TBS, Turner, has their first game of the playoffs tonight, and it's that Rangers-Devils game. It's actually the only game they have tonight. So make sure you don't go to ESPN for that. It's on TBS. Rangers and Devils. It'll be Kenny Albert and Keith Jones calling that. Tampa, Toronto is ESPN. It'll be the same guys that did the Boston game last night. Sean McDonough, Ray Ferraro, and Emily Kaplan with them as well in Toronto tonight. As far as this game goes, look, I ain't betting it. I've made my case. Toronto's the better team. I think they're finally going to shake the playoff, doldrums and win. But I'm not laying minus 155 to figure that out in game 1. They did pummel Tampa Bay in game 1 last year, if you'll recall, even though they lost that series in game 7. That ended up being a very much a game or a series where Toronto just came out flying in game 1. And then, of course, Tampa tied it in game 2. And the rest was history. It ended up being Tampa in 7 at the end of the day. I think you're going to get another, flying start from Toronto, kind of tempted by them to either score the first goal or first period puck line, but I have not bet it. I don't know. I've got a phobia with Toronto. I was just basically, I needed my arm twisted a lot to even put Toronto in a series parlay, let alone bet at them game to game just because of the franchise woes they've had in the playoffs for the last 20 years. But, everything that you look at here with these two teams, that Tampa's a sinking ship. Tampa's played a lot of hockey. They have nothing left in the tank. Their defense is nowhere close to as good as last year. I'm convinced of that. When you lose a Ryan McDonough, you lose a couple of the players they had last year, Ruda as well on the blue line, you're not as good. Nick Perbix and some of these other defensemen aren't as good. They don't have that depth on the blue line. I don't think their third and their fourth line is nearly as good as it's been the last couple of years. Obviously, you still know that Kucherov and Stamkos and Braden Point are dangerous. And, of course, their blue line is still led by a good duo in Hedman and Sergachev. But, once you get beyond that, it's going to be a little bit of a tough time, I think, for Tampa Bay in this one in terms of their depth not being as good either up front and the blue line. You still probably have to give the nod to Vasilevsky and net because of everything he's accomplished and winning the cups and being the best goalie in the NHL for years. But this has not been his best year. He's been beaten high glove side. He's given up a lot more softer goals, bad goals, than I've seen him in recent seasons. And even though Ilya Samsonov doesn't have the pedigree of winning, playoff series and championships, he's been excellent for the Leafs this year. So can he match Vasilevsky here in this series? The way he's played this year, you got to have hope he can. And just, I don't think the playoff pressure is going to shake him at all either, because I know his playoff record in Washington wasn't good, but it's a different team now. He's saying all the right things. I'm just focusing on my game. I'm not worrying about other things. The confidence. He had the gem of a quote the other day talking about why he believes in this Leafs team. He thinks we have the best team. And they asked him why. He says, well, we have the best coaches, the best therapists, the best team doctors, the best training staff, the best coaches. I mean, he was basically going down the list of all the things that make Toronto great, every element of the hockey team. So it was a hilarious quote, but he's a very confident goalie, Ilya Samsonov. And to be honest, he should be confident because he's had a great season for the Leafs. So I think Toronto wins the game. I ain't betting it, but I do have them in a parlay or two to win their series. If anything, like I said, I do think that first period puck line, though, I am tempted by that. As far as the totals go, I'm going to do a first period full game over split in this game. I think just game one, you could see it a little more ragtag, a little bit more up and down, a little looser, and then it tightens up as the series goes, because there's some books that have fallen to 5.5 now with the total. It's still mostly 6 at a bunch of books, but this full game total at a couple of places has fallen to 5.5, and it's kind of like with that Rangers Devils series where I think maybe it's fallen a little bit too much. So I'm going to go with a little over 1.5 minus 105 first period split with the full game over 5.5. By the way, with the Tampa Toronto, the first period over, I should say, minus 115 at Pinnacle. The full game over, like I say, it's minus 130 at FanDuel. So. With it falling to 5.5, I'm going to split between those two tonight here in game one, the first period full game over. I like Nylander, Marner, shots on goal props, Nylander goal props. I've got a Nylander top goal scorer series in the series prop at plus 600. And I think Nylander will find the back of the net here tonight in this one for the Toronto Maple Leafs. What do you think here, Alex? Lightning, Leafs.
Yeah, well, like I talked about it in the preview, I like the Leafs to finally win this, win a first round for the first time in forever. I like them to win this in 5, and I think they're going to come out hot and heavy. So that crowd's got to be loud and electric, and what they need to help them with that. Yeah, what they need to help out with that would be goals. So I am going to take a shot with that first period puck line. I've seen it as high as plus 165 at DraftKings. That's a great number there for the first period puck line. So I'm taking a shot with just that. Nothing else. Don't want anything full game, side, or total. I do kind of lean with that overlook. But just, we know, like I said, Samsonov and Vasilevsky, they have the tendency to kind of lock things down, especially if it is haywire early. I think these are two coaches and two goaltenders that can make those adjustments to slow down the game a little bit. So I'm glad we'll be on the Betcast. This probably be one I'll dabble in more live than any of the other 4 games tonight. So just staying with the first period puck line on the Leafs and then adjusting from there.
Yeah, which makes sense. You're already committed pre-series with some Leaf stuff. Let's see the game transpire. And on the Betcast tonight, which we'll be on, we can make some live betting decisions, and some opportunities can present themselves. What do you think here, Matt? Tampa Bay, Toronto.
Well, it's this one's tough for me because obviously I've been down in Florida here for about 12 years. Grew up in Buffalo, moved down to Florida, so I am a Tampa fan. Grew up hating the Leafs, being a Sabres fan, but had to enjoy hockey elsewhere after 12 years of tanking and everything else. But Tampa's, they're struggling. They struggled down the stretch. I think they went like 4-8 down the stretch, 1-4 in the last 5 games.
Awful road record this year. I've said that
record.
Awful road record this year.
Yeah. Hedman is not the same. I mean, you can break down any stat you want. His advanced stats are worse. Vasilevsky's. They played a lot of hockey. Believe me, it takes its toll. To me, though, it's like you gotta take them out. I don't know if everyone's on the Leafs. I don't think Tampa wins tonight. I think even the book I have is 160. I think that's way too high. I'd look towards the first period over. It's a good price. I think 120, 115 around there. But I like Tampa in the series. It might be more of a fan play, but I just think you have to knock them off. I mean, it's been 19 years. The amount of pressure that Matthews and those guys are facing in that city is just tremendous. So I don't know. It's tough to beat Vasi four games out of 7. I think he rounds into the form where, his last 2 Stanley Cup, seasons. I think he was under 2 in goals against and over like 925 in save percentage. So, but you're right, losing. I don't know. I think it's more of a fan play, but tonight I'm not touching it. Besides the first period over, I think Tampa streaks it out. I think there's too much.
So you're
pressure.
a fan and you're worried. So that's really telling, yeah, for Tampa.
Yeah, well, I was hoping they'd pick up a D-man at the trade deadline. Once you get out of the top 3, it really goes downhill. Yeah. Bogosian, I mean, his stats are just terrible. Sometimes they haven't even paired with Hedman. I think that's probably why some of his games are less than that. But tonight, yeah, first period over. But I do think Tampa squeaks it out. But I'm probably going to be wrong on that. But I think there's so much pressure on Toronto. I think guys like Ryan O'Reilly and stuff will come to the room and actually help, calm them down if there are some ups and downs in the series. But, yeah, that's all I got on that.
Yeah, I think, by the way, don't sleep. If someone's going to contribute outside of the big guns like Kucherov, Point, Stamkos for Tampa, don't sleep on Hagel. Don't sleep on Colton and Paul. Paul had the 2 goals in Game 7 last year against Toronto. But Alex Killorn is the one I keep on talking about for Tampa Bay. Like this guy had no offense in his game for like the first half of the season. Like he was just mired in 0-0-0 goals, assists, points, and all of a sudden, since the All-Star break,
what about the playoffs last year? He didn't score a goal.
No,
he was
didn't.
Terrible.
See, that's the only hesitancy that I have with an Alex Killorn goal and point prop tonight is that the playoffs he didn't do well last year for the Lightning. But if you look at current form, down the stretch of the regular season, he was one of their best offensive players for the Tampa Bay Lightning, Alex Killorn. So I'm still tempted to look at a Killorn props tonight, hoping that it could maybe filter through to the playoffs because, like I said, he was terrific down the stretch. And like I say, compared to Stamkos and Kucherov and Point, you're getting better prices, better numbers with props involving Alex Killorn compared to many of the other Lightning players. Like he's only minus 118 to get a point tonight. And plus 290 to get a goal. I think that's great value considering what he was doing down the stretch. No doubt for the Tampa Bay line. Corey Perry to cheap shot someone minus 200 says Daniel H. Yeah, he'll be up to his old tricks for sure. Yeah. There's no question. But the thing is, the Leafs, unlike last year, where they didn't have the policeman on their team to kind of handle him and deal with that bullshit, they've got a Luke Shen now. They got a Jake McCabe now. They've got Nola Chari won't back down to anybody. All these guys that they added are all guys that are giving them a little more physicality, grit, meanness, and basically take no shit attitude. And that's going to, I think, help them, no doubt, in this series.
This is like the series when you're watching the NFL games and all the broadcasters are doing the picks. And every one of them's got the Bengals, and you're like, okay, the Bengals just lost. That's how I kind of feel about this series.
I know. I like I say, everything with your eyes and brain tells you Toronto, but you're right.
You're 100% right.
Them now for the most.
And you were right on the McDonough. I mean, that was a huge loss for them. They never made it up, and that's why I think Toronto will be able to score goals against Tampa, regardless of how the series turns out.
Yeah, and this is the saves prop that I like the most tonight. I'm on Andrei Vasilevsky over saves because I think Toronto's peppering the net tonight. I got to believe they're going to carry the game flow. Doesn't mean they're going to win the game, but carry the game flow. Like, we saw Edmonton do that early in the game last night. We saw the Carolina Hurricanes really carry the game flow against the Islanders where they heavily outshot I think you're going to see that tonight. Like this could be like a 38-25, 24 kind of shot edge for Toronto tonight. Because I do think they're going to be ramped up in front of the home fans, shake the demons of playoffs past. So I like Vasilevsky over saves over 30.5 tonight.
And the thing with that is, it's kind of alluding to what you said yesterday, is that if that overshot hits, chances are that means there's not a lot of block shots, which probably means there's going to be a few of those going in. So, for Toronto, or for Tampa's sake, they probably want that shot total to go under, because then that means that those defensemen in front are blocking shots and getting in front with those active sticks. But I think that's a good look for tonight. Yeah, Vasilevsky, I think he will see a lot of rubber, even though those guys in front will be busy too. But I think a lot will get through, and he'll have to make some saves.
Yeah, I think there's one other save prop that I'm interested in tonight, and then one of the late Western games, but this one's my favorite tonight for sure, is Vasilevsky for Tampa Bay over saves in this game tonight. All right, good stuff. That is the first two games, the Eastern Conference first round game one matchups taking place tonight. Hit the like button if you're watching on YouTube, and shout out to our podcast listeners. We'll be right back to talk Western Conference first round game one matchups tonight in just a moment, right after we hear from Gramco.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Gramco. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta-8 THC products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta-8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta-8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. And if you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta-8 products today.
All right, Winnipeg, Vegas, West first round game one. We've got the Golden Knights minus 150, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. This is really interesting because the way I really dissected the matchup and dissected this series is up front, I still give Vegas an edge because of the fact that I like their depth a little bit in the third and the fourth line, especially with what we've seen from them down the stretch. And especially because they get Mark Stone, their captain, back. Oh, the mysterious little loophole comes in handy once again for the Vegas Golden Knights. The old Tampa Bay method. Bury someone on LTIR when they're on injured for much of the season, then just magically reappear come playoff time. And that's Mark Stone for the Vegas Golden Knights. But they'll obviously be thrilled to have him back. Now, can he stay healthy? Can he withstand the punishment of a long playoff run? Because he always seems to get injured the last couple of years. But certainly, he still makes them a lot better team. The goaltending carousel, I think Bruce Cassidy and this Golden Knights team deserves credit for still being the number one seed in the West in spite of a goaltending carousel. They've had how many different goalies? 4 start for them this year at some point. You saw Leonard hasn't even been available to them all year. They had Logan Thompson. They had Aiden Hill. Neither of those guys are available to them to start game one tonight. And now they got to bring in Jonathan Quick from the Kings, but they're still a little shaky on him being at the level he needs to be their starting goalie. And all of a sudden, this goaltending number one spot in game one tonight falls to Laurent Brossoit for the Vegas Golden Knights against his former team. He used to back up Connor Hellebuck with the Winnipeg Jets. So what a little storyline subplot that is. Brossoit's earned the opportunity. Anybody that's watched Vegas play down the stretch, he's played well, extremely well for the Golden Knights. Now, the only thing you concern yourself with is now can you do it in playoff time? Pressure ratchets up a little bit, but he's earned it based on the ability and the way he played down the stretch. So I like the Vegas team up front. I certainly give Vegas an edge on the blue line with their defensemen because you look at what they have 1 through 6, it's terrific. Martinez, Pietrangelo, McNabb, Theodore, Haig, Whitecloud. That's a real strong group of 6 on the blue line. Deeper back there compared to Winnipeg, in my opinion. Winnipeg's great with the top 6, especially when they're rolling, and that wasn't always the case when things were starting to fall apart. But Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele, they all got their game back on track a little bit down the stretch. Nino Niederreiter was a nice addition from Minnesota. But at the same time, there are some concerns tonight, namely Nikolai Ehlers suddenly popping up as a game-time decision for the Winnipeg Jets tonight with an upper body injury here in this game. So, that's concerning. Nikolai Ehlers is one of those guys I count on, or I trust to show up in playoff time. He's done that before. So, in this game, Does that mean the Winnipeg Jets are going to win this game? The dog is live. Maybe that's symbolism right there. But this is really, really tough because to me, I think Vegas is a better team and they're going to win this series. But you can't underestimate the fact that you've got one of the elite goalies in the NHL and Hellebuck. He resides on the Jets, and is Brossoit ready to keep playing the way he did in the regular season? That's the one question mark. Because goaltending, you have to give Winnipeg the edge because of Hellebuck's pedigree against a guy that's never played in a playoff game before, or started at least in a playoff game before. I think maybe Brossoit replaced Hellebuck maybe in a playoff game in Winnipeg, but not started one before Brossoit. So, I do think Vegas wins this series, but I think it's tough. I don't think it'll be easy. I think Winnipeg will be a competitive in this series, but I've got Vegas in 6 kind of in my mind here against the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not betting this one pre-game, other than I like the draw here in game 1. I think, the first game adjustment for Brossoit, he could be feeling it a little bit. Vegas, though, the propensity to play pretty close hockey games. We obviously saw both Western Conference first-round games last night go to overtime, cash the draw. I'm not saying you bet every Western game now to the draw, but this one has some sense to it. In my opinion, that we could see this game go beyond 60 minutes here. I think it'll be a very close, tightly contested game 1. So give me the draw. It's the only pregame bet I've got, side or total in this one. Alex, Jets, Golden Knights.
Yeah, right there with you. This is the first draw I actually bet a couple of days ago when these lines came out. I got plus 320. Shop around because I've seen it drop down to plus 310 in some books. I've seen it as high as plus 330 or 335. So except FanDuel and Pinnacle have certainly been the top 2 places to try to grab draw prices for sure, but definitely want to shop around here. Like I said, this feels like it's going to be a tight series. I bet pre-series, that there'll be 3 games to go to overtime at 8-1, and also took a shot that the series ends in 6 games at plus 205. I don't really know if I'm actually going to take a true side at any point in this. Obviously, down the road, I might bet a money line side, but for these first 3 games, I'm probably going to be just looking at the draw. And looking at totals, because I think it's going to be that close back and forth where, if you like a side in this game, you'll probably be able to grab a plus price on either team live. If you like Winnipeg, grab them now. But I think they could maybe jump out early and you can grab Vegas at a plus price if they're trailing in the game. I think I just expect the back and forth pace to be a great series to bet the next to score props. I think we'll be able to see that kind of momentum in real time enough to grab some of those during the series. So it's just the draw for me right now. Like I said, I got plus 320. And then we'll just dive in with the live bets later.
I definitely think the draw worth a look here in this one with the Jets and the Golden Knights. And like I say, this is going to be another series where we could see, a lot of close games and maybe one, if not more, overtime games as well. And by the way, I want to point something out again about FanDuel. Again, just delivering the goods with the best prices when it comes to the draw bets. You can get plus 340 at FanDuel right now, just a little bit better than it seems like the majority. So make sure you shop around if you're going to jump on that draw bet. What do you think here in this one, Matt? Winnipeg and Vegas.
Vegas, it's Mark Stone coming back. I think he's slated to be on the 3rd line with Stevenson and Armadio. So I don't know how much effect he'll have early. I think he had surgery in January, but that'll be a big boost in the room for them. All 3 games, I think, in the regular season went towards Vegas. I think the only thing there is all 3 were played before Christmas. So I think the Jets were playing their best hockey down the stretch. I think they went 5-1 their last 6 to get in the playoffs. I kind of like the Jets in the series. I'm probably alone on that, but I like Hellebuck. I mean, 64 games he played. He just rolled through the regular season. I think they have the edge in goaltending. I love the fact the last game when the Jets clinched and they were playing the Wild and they sent out Reeves and Lowry stood up and fought the toughest guy in the league for no reason. The game was over. I just think that does so much.
I absolutely love Adam Lowry's game. He can play on my team any day of the week. Both ends of the ice, sticks up for teammates, tough as nails, takes on all comers. Yeah.
I think I watched that fight 4 times. It gave me chills just for the fact to do that. So I in this game, I have nothing yet. I'm not paying 150 on Vegas. Maybe Vegas first period, a half, have good plus money. They always seem to play good early on at home. But I do like the Jets in the series. I think it'll be close. 6 or 7 games go either way. I wouldn't argue, if Vegas won. it'd be close. But I do like the Jets. I think it's their time to move past round one.
All right, like in Winnipeg here in a mild upset over the actually I shouldn't say mild, but decent sized upset here against the Vegas Golden Knights. And look right away, the goaltending is what you point to in terms of why Winnipeg could be live to pull the upset. But for me, like I said, as long as Brossoit does not give up too many of those Alex Lyon type goals like he gave up to Marchand last night, just don't give up the horrendous goal. Okay, play solid, play steady. You don't even have to steal the game for Vegas. Play solid, play steady, no bad goals. To me, if that happens, Vegas wins this series because I just think up front they're a little deeper. Defense, definitely blue line, they're deeper. There's no argument there with what they've got compared to Winnipeg. So it's going to be don't allow the bad goal. Don't allow the stinker if you're Laurent Brossoit in this series in Vegas. I think, in my opinion, if that happens, they'll be fine. All right, the final game, Seattle Kraken, Colorado Avalanche. Get the coffee out for Bob Wishoes and Brian Boucher in the booth. They're going to need it tonight after calling the Dallas game last night, flying to Colorado to do this one tonight. Minus 200 home favorites, the Avs, 6 the total here in game one. I'm doubling up here with first period and full game over with the Kraken and the Avs. I think we're going to see goals in this series. I think, and look, Makar has been cleared. Huge news for Colorado. He will be good to go and in the lineup tonight for game one. Obviously, the big announcement before the series started was Gabe Landeskog being out for the rest of the playoffs. Matt, I'll get your thoughts on what McKinnon said regarding Landeskog. Alex and I talked about this a couple of days ago. His quote was, "This kills us." And I'm like, why are you talking like that? You're talking with this defeatist attitude. Like, man, Landeskog's out. We're cooked. And it's just, I couldn't believe that's the words he uttered. Yeah. This kills us from McKinnon when they asked him about Landeskog being shut down for the playoffs.
Yeah, that was kind of shocking. Especially from the standpoint is how much they played, without him and done fine. So, it's, they really don't even have a Stanley Cup.
Good enough. Still won a division. Yeah.
Yeah. And they got a great matchup here. I don't understand that. And it's not like it was a surprise to them. They knew all along. I mean, it's a surprise to us outside the room, but I mean, they knew what he was dealing with all this time, that his chances of coming back were slim to none.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was surprising to hear those kind of words uttered. No question about it by Nathan McKinnon going into this series against the Seattle Kraken. Look, I'm actually of the belief here in this game tonight that this is going to be a little bit of a tougher series for Colorado than some people think, because this Seattle team, they work hard. They've got a much better chemistry than they had last year, and I think their ability to skate, and that's the thing about Seattle. They can play in a pace-driven game. They actually push their pace. They play fast. They really do. They try to get the puck north-south as quickly as possible. They actually won't be in awe of Colorado, playing that way all the time for 60 minutes. And if you look at the season series, 3 meetings, they were all tough games for Colorado. Seattle beat them twice during the regular season, including twice here in Denver, 3-2 scores, including one game that went to overtime, and then a 2-1 shootout win for Colorado. So nothing came easily head-to-head for the Colorado Avalanche against the Seattle Kraken. So I don't like this draw as much as the Winnipeg-Vegas game, but I did sprinkle a little here on the draw with Seattle, Colorado in game one. And I also like this first period and full game over. I think you're going to see 2 goals at least in the opening period. And I think with this total sitting at 6 here, not the key 6.5, which is where I sometimes in the playoffs get a little bit more hesitant to bet an over. I'm going to get in on it here. Over 6 minus 108 for the full game total at Pinnacle. First period over is over 1.5 minus 132. At Pinnacle, which is not a bad price at all. So the first period full game overs and a little bit of a sprinkle on the draw here in this matchup as well. Alex, game one, Kraken, Av.
Yeah, I'm on the full game over. I grabbed minus $1.10 at 6 a couple of days ago. The first period over, I would lean that way, but that's one I'd probably wait and play in game. I try to get a plus price with that. I think we could see more goals scored later in this contest. You look back at the last 3 meetings, like I said, Seattle's given Colorado fits. All 3 of those games, it was scoreless. in the first. So looking at that angle, I could see where we might even be able to get, like I said, I grabbed 6 at $1.10 because I just figured this line might actually go up either in price or even a number up to 6.5. But it didn't. So now you could probably even sit and wait and grab a 5.5. Might have to lay a little more there with $1.15, $1.20 in game, but I wouldn't shy away from that look as well. I think we're going to see good pace back and forth. I think Colorado is one of those teams that I think will be able to turn up the intensity here now that it's playoff time. It's not going to be the same old had of just them. We were floating around probably playing Seattle, at the end of a road trip or something crazy like that. I think this will be the case here where we see Colorado with the intensity early and Seattle has enough offense to match it. So that back and forth should definitely lend itself to going over with 6. And I think the first period over should go over that as well, but I would wait and grab at least attempt to grab a better pricing game.
Yeah, it's Georgiev. Yeah, Georgiev has been excellent, no doubt. But I didn't love his game against Nashville, the final game when they were trying to clinch the division. And there's been a couple games where he was not quite nearly as on his game. And more than anything, this isn't about Georgiev, me slamming him. I don't think Colorado's team defense the last week or so of the season was great and consistent. They were giving up goals. They were giving up chances. The penalty kill wasn't nearly as good either. Nashville burned them on it in the game where they actually did clinch the division, but it wasn't easy. They gave up, 3 goals in that game. They haven't been locking it down, is my point with Colorado, at times down the stretch. So that's why the over, I think, and I think there's going to be some goals in this series, but that's part of my reasoning behind the over. Colorado didn't play, like lockdown tight defense down the stretch by at all, but necessarily. But as far as goal props, I mean, you can't go wrong with McKinnon and Rantanen. You probably have to start there. I mean, those two guys have just been terrific for the Avalanche going into these playoffs. So, and by the way, this is the other goalie save prop that I like on the card tonight. And that's Philip Grubauer for Seattle over saves prop. Only 27.5. And the reason that is what Perlo's saying in the chat. Shot suppression. They're pretty good at limiting shots on goal against Seattle. But Colorado, doesn't matter who they play at home at Ball Arena. I find they get their shots. And they get, at least 30, 35 shots, on home ice. That's just what Colorado does, especially in the playoffs. So I find that that's a little short, that 27.5 number that they posted with Philip Grubauer over saves tonight for the Kraken. So I'm on that prop.
And that's that's a good number too, especially when you consider that, like I said, the way I'm looking at it, I don't think there's going to be necessarily a lot of scoring chances early in the contest. So, you get those saves early, and then that way, if it does explode late, let's say Colorado gets a 4 spot in the second and he gets pulled, but you still might get that 27 over that 27 in the first 40 minutes. So you got a little cushion there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Jared McCann. Yeah, anything Jared McCann. If you're going to bet someone on Seattle, that's your guy. Okay, goal prop, point prop, shots on goal. He's gone over, by the way, 3.5 shots on goal in 4 of the last 5 games down the stretch. If that's the guy you target for sure if you're going to bet any Kraken player props here tonight. All right, Matt, what do you think here? Game 1, Seattle, Colorado.
Yeah, Grubauer playing against his former team. I think the story will be, can he stop the pucks from going in? Kind of like what you just talked about with the Vegas Knights. I think a lot will depend on how he plays. If they have to go to Martin Jones, I don't think that's a good thing. But I think Colorado comes out firing. My play on this would be first period -0.5 for the Avs. I mean, they've been on fire down the stretch. I think they were 10-1-1. They've just been coming into playoffs like gangbusters. So I think they continue their play. Maker coming back is huge for them. I mean, he runs their whole PP. So I like Colorado first period -0.5. I do like the first period over. I think Seattle was probably the team I play the most, and they seem to always go over in the first period. But to me, it's just if Seattle can stop the Avs from scoring. Other than that, I think the Avs take this series.
But like them especially in the first period, and that's a good price. If you like Colorado in the first period with that puck line, not a bad price at all. -0.5, plus 140 is what we are looking at as far as the first period puck line there.
And just one more thing to add, because I know both of you guys like that first period over. And Ian, you talked about goals scored in the first 10 minutes. Seattle 19-6 the last 25 games, a goal in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, definitely really good look. No question there. And as far as, definitely looking at toward the first goal in the first 10-minute prop. And like I said, I think it's got a chance to hit in the Ranger game. Is I think not a bad way to think about going with that first goal in first 10 minutes. Toronto Tampa could happen. The only one I'm shaky about is Winnipeg Vegas. I could see that being like Minnesota Dallas last night. Winnipeg Vegas, that first period where they go deep into the first period without a goal. That could be the one game where I'd be a lot more concerned with that. So that's basically it. In terms of there's some other shots on goal props. I just decided to save them for the end. Like I said, I like Marner, Nylander, Hughes, Panarin for the Rangers as well. Definitely some good looks. McKinnon, I mean, it's hard to argue with Nathan McKinnon. Nathan McKinnon in the playoffs just seems to shoot the puck a ton. You know who I think is going to shoot the puck a ton too is Jack Eichel for Vegas. First playoff game. I think he wants to make an impact right away. Will he score is the big question because you got Hellebuck to deal with, but I think Jack Eichel is going to be shoot first mentality tonight. He's not always that way, but I think tonight he definitely will be. His first ever playoff game. You got to believe he's going to be looking to get that first playoff goal while he's at it. So Jack Eichel, I think for Vegas is a good shot on goal look tonight here as well. All right, great stuff. That's the Tuesday card. We'll be back to wrap it up with best bets. A reminder, check out patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 a month. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, the daily Ice Guys show, betting card posted there each day, bonus content as well. Check it out, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 a month.
Also, make sure to check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We got caps, we got T-shirts, we got hoodies, we got everything you need. Check it all out right there at the Ice Guys store. That's iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All
right, check it out. And like I say, the weather's warming up, so there's a lot of good summer gear that you can get at the Ice Guys store. All right, best bets to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there, and it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code ICEGUYS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it's best bet time to wrap up the show. Matt, we'll start with our guest here, Matt Sierozinski. Thank you very much for joining us. Great job. What do you like here for best bet?
I got to say that Manscaped commercial makes me chuckle every time.
I was going to say, I could see on the
that
bottom
is
of the
just good
screen
stuff.
there. You're
I
smiling.
laugh.
I'm like, you're enjoying what I'm saying there. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, they should give you extra
well, I could be a
time
dull, boring ass human being and just, this product brought to you by Manscaped. And I'm trying to put a little life into it, put a little energy into it, put a little humor into it. So
that's fucking
I appreciate
that. My best bets, I'm going to go the first period over in Toronto, Tampa. And the other one, I guess I'll give two, is the Colorado first period at half. I believe you can get that at around plus 150. Plus 145 will be my two plays of the night. Appreciate you guys having me. It was a great time. I always enjoy listening to you. I think all your listeners should appreciate the amount of information you guys give each and every night. Just for listen. If you enjoy hockey or betting hockey, The amount of information you give is great. A lot of times I'll put some AirPods in while I'm cooking dinner and just listen. It's good stuff. So I appreciate what you guys do, both of you, Alex and Ian. Thank you.
Absolutely. No doubt about that, Matt. That's real kind words. We appreciate it. We're glad you listen and that you watch regularly. And he does, by the way. I mean, he's a guest on the show today, but he's actually, and not every guest that we've had that's been a player guest that's listening and watching the show regularly. This guy is. And we definitely appreciate it from Matt. And Matt, as I always say, Matt, anyone that you used to play with that is interested in this kind of stuff, you let them know about the show and where to find us, because we're always trying to spread the word for sure. But Matt, we appreciate the kind words. Alex, best bet, what do you like?
Yeah, it's a first period kind of a night. I like that. So we'll go with the Rangers and Devils first period over. Like I said, get it at FanDuel minus $1.10. I like this thing all the way up to $1.40. Like I said, I think we're going to see a great action, a good back and forth pace, and we're going to get at least 2 goals here in the first 20 minutes. So Rangers Devils first period over 1.5 minus $1.10. That's my best bet for this Tuesday.
All right, there you go. Rangers and Devils over first period over 1.5 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet for this card, I'm going to go with that. Let's go with that Seattle Colorado over 6 even money. I like the first period too, but I'll go with that Seattle Colorado over 6 right around even money. I think we'll see goals in that game and pretty much in that series as well. And if you look at Colorado, they were really trending over, scoring goals in bunches, but not quite the most shutdown defense down the stretch. I think you might see it play out that way tonight as well. So we'll go with that. Kraken Avs over 6 for my best bet here for this Tuesday card. And that'll wrap it up. We thank everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Reminder, the Betcast tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to join us live on the Betcast, just hang out with us. We're just watching the games, live betting, bring your favorite beverage with you. Very much a bar and a pub atmosphere with every Betcast. So join us tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, for our first Ice Guys Stanley Cup Playoffs live Betcast. Looking forward to that. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Sierozinski, our guest, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will see you tonight in just a few hours, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Ice Guys live Betcast, our first one for the Stanley Cup Playoffs coming up tonight. Check us out then. Join us then. It's the Ice Guys back for the Betcast tonight, presented by National Hockey Now.